The real question I want to get to, and the important one, I think, is what Roger Penrose talks about with the necessity of conscious observation and the neglect of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics among practicing physicists who seem to ignore the necessity of conscious observation creating quantum decoherence. And I wanted to find out what you thought about Roger Penrose and his ideas and that. Thank you.
Well, there are at least 10 different physical interpretations of the equations of quantum mechanics, and they're all empirically equivalent, they're mathematically consistent, and no one knows which, if any of them, is the correct physical interpretation. I'm inclined to agree with philosophers of science who think of the traditional Copenhagen interpretation as really just quite unintelligible, and I'm therefore more inclined to some sort of deterministic theory of quantum mechanics, like David Bohm's quantum mechanics. Now, I know that Sean Carroll holds to Everett's many worlds interpretation, but that again seems to me to be just fantastic and has difficulty making sense out of the probabilities in quantum theory. But basically, I don't think we need to decide. No one knows for sure what is the correct physical interpretation. It works, and that's what the practicing scientist is concerned with, but it remains a matter of deep debate as to how to understand it.
Well, I'm glad we found another very important area of agreement between Dr. Craig and myself. The Copenhagen interpretation is basically nonsense. No thoughtful person still holds to it, and yet we teach it to all of our undergraduates. That's kind of a scandal. And and no one knows what the right answer is. I would also agree with that. I do hold to the many worlds interpretation. I think that you see it's a sort of consistent split that we have, because people do, when faced with the statement of the many worlds interpretation, it bothers them at an emotional level. I mean, where do you put all of those worlds? How do you fit them into the universe? But when you look at the level of the equations, it is the simplest possible interpretation of quantum mechanics. There are important questions that are still raised about it. I'm also writing papers about that. I think these are important issues to be addressed. But I judge simplicity by the number of ideas and concepts, not by the number of universes.